Dust on the Mountain by Ruskin Bond. Part 2. The Road to Mussoorie. Along the valley and over the mountains went the little bus with its load of frail humans. How tiny we are, thought Bisnu, looking up at the towering peaks and the immensity of sky. Each of us no more than a raindrop, and I wish we had a few raindrops. There were still fires burning to the north, but the road went south where there were no forests anyway, just bare brown hillsides. Down near the river there were small paddy fields, but unfortunately rivers ran downhill and not uphill, and there was no inexpensive way in which the water could be brought up the steep slopes to the fields that depended on rainfall. Bisnu stared out of the bus window at the river running far below. On either bank huge boulders lay exposed, for the level of the water had fallen considerably during the past few months. "Why are there no trees here?" he asked aloud, attracting the attention of a fellow passenger, an old man in the next seat who had been keeping up a relentless dry coughing. Even though it was a warm day, he wore a woolen cap and had wrapped an old muffler about his neck. "There were trees here once," he said, only too glad to talk, "but the contractors took the deodars to make furniture and doors and beams for houses, and the pines were tapped to death for their resin, and the oaks were stripped of their leaves to feed the cattle. You can still see a few tree skeletons if you look hard, and the bushes that remained were finished off by the goats." "When did all this happen?" asked Bisnu. "A few years ago, and it's still happening in other areas, although it's forbidden now to cut down trees. The only forests that remain are in remote places where there are no roads." A fit of coughing overtook him, but he had found a good listener and was eager to continue. "The road helps you and me to get about, but it also makes it easier for others to do mischief. Rich men from the cities come here and buy up what they want: land, houses, trees, people." "What takes you to Mussoorie, uncle?" asked Bisnu politely. He always addressed elderly people as uncle or aunt. "I have a cough that won't go away. Perhaps they can do something for it at the hospital in Mussoorie. Doctors don't like coming to villages, you know. There's no money to be made in villages, so we must go to the doctors in the towns. I had a brother who could not be cured in Mussoorie. They told him to go to Delhi. He sold his buffaloes and went to Delhi, but there they told him it was too late to do anything. He died on the way back. I won't go to Delhi. I don't wish to die amongst strangers." "You'll get well, uncle," said Bisnu. "Bless you for saying so. May you grow strong and tall like a deodar. And you, what takes you to the big town?" "Looking for work. We need money at home." It is always the same. There are many like you who must go out in search of work. But don't be led astray. Don't let your friends persuade you to go to Bombay to become a film star. It is better to be hungry in your own village than to be hungry on the streets of Bombay. I had a nephew who went to Bombay. The smugglers put him to work selling afim, the drug opium, and now he is in jail. Keep away from the big cities, boy. Earn your money and go home." "I'll do that, uncle. My mother and sister will expect me to return before the summer season is over." The old man nodded vigorously and began coughing again. Presently he dozed off. The interior of the bus smelt of tobacco, smoke and petrol fumes, and as a result Bisnu had a headache. He kept his face near the open window to get as much fresh air as possible, but the dust kept getting into his mouth and eyes. Several dusty hours later the bus got into Mussoorie, honking its horn furiously at everything in sight. The passengers, looking dazed, got down and went their different ways. The old man blessed Bisnu again and then trudged off to the hospital. Bisnu had to start looking for a job straight away. He needed a lodging for the night, and he could not afford the cheapest of the hotels. So he went from one shop to another and to all the little restaurants and eating places, asking for work, anything in exchange for a bed, a meal, and a minimum wage. A boy at one of the sweet shops told him there was a job at the Picture Palace, one of the town's 3 cinemas. The hill station's main road was crowded with people, for the season was just starting. Most of them were tourists who had come up from Delhi and other large towns. There were hotels everywhere, some built on concrete pillars. If you stand still for 5 minutes, said an old resident, they'll build a hotel on you. The street lights had come on and the shops were lighting up when Bisnu presented himself at the Picture Palace.